raise your hand if you've ever bought secondhand clothing from a traditional thrift store or from online up-and-coming platforms such as Depop, ThredUp, or Poshmark. Thank you. Whatever the reason, you just think thrifted clothing is trendier, or in search of the best prices, you are helping combat the negative effects of the fast fashion industry. Now, what exactly is fast fashion? Fast fashion is inexpensive clothing produced rapidly by mass market retailers in response to the current trends. This business model is dominating the fashion industry, especially in the US, and has been cited as a prevalent cause of some pretty serious issues. I myself have been partaken in such a movement because of its ease. Trendy fashion at affordable prices, but with detrimental costs, negative impacts on both the health of the environment as well as people, and an industry that is promoting horrific working conditions. However, steps are being taken to prevent the growth of the fast fashion industry and limit the harmful effects this industry has had. This anti-fast fashion movement is naturally referred to as slow fashion. Slow fashion refers to designers taking a more sustainable approach to production and design. According to Clark Hazel, a professor at the Parsons School of Art and Design History and Theory, the slow approach presents a prospect of fashion minus many of the worst aspects of the current global system, especially its extreme wastefulness and lack of concern for environmental issues. Clearly, slow fashion is a potential solution to fast fashion issues. And the question then is, how can we as consumers engage and encourage the slow fashion movement? The answer is consumer education, buying from sustainable brands, and utilizing secondhand clothing options. Now, fast fashion has created this mentality of careless consumerism, buying to keep up with the Joneses and disposing of products on a whim when they aren't relevant anymore. But without consumers funneling their money into the fast fashion industry, the business model this industry is built upon will fail. The first step in combating fast fashion's harmful effects is educating consumers about the real ramifications. Landfills being littered with synthetic fabrics, factories having detrimental health impacts on their surrounding neighbors, and factory workers being subjected to horrific working conditions. While education is relatively easy, as simple as researching the harmful effects the fast fashion industry has online, how consumers take action after educating themselves is crucial. Now, you may be wondering, if you can't purchase clothing from fast fashion brands, where can consumers purchase clothing? Big brands like Patagonia, Everlane, and Cezanne are working towards providing more sustainable clothing options by eliminating the usage of synthetic fabrics. Dana Thomas, a fashion writer at the New York Times, said in her recent article how fast fashion is destroying the planet. In regards to synthetic fabrics, more than 60% of fabric fibers are now synthetics derived from fossil fuels. So if and when these fabric fibers end up in landfills, about 85% of clothing in the US ends up in landfills or is incinerated, it will not decay. However, as brands continue to transition away from these materials, their environmental impacts will be limited as well. Deciding which brands to purchase from can also be relatively easy. Research them prior to purchase. Look for recycled or organic fibers such as cotton, hemp, linen, or on the pricier side, cashmere and silk. Not only are these slow fashion brands reducing their environmental impact, but they're also striving to improve working conditions in their factories, turning away from sweatshops and towards local production. Deborah Leslie, a professor at the University of Toronto, said in the academic journal Growth and Change that slow fashion emphasizes a transparent production system where there are smaller scale enterprises and fewer intermediaries. Whatever is available locally is used to best advantage, and what cannot be produced locally is exchanged and shared, giving rise to a simultaneously local and cosmopolitan society. This act not only brings economic stimulation and better employment to your home, but also limits big companies from taking advantage of the lack of working conditions in smaller countries, preventing disasters like the 2011 collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Bangladesh, which killed 1,100 workers and injured thousands more. Now, One point of concern when it comes to consumers purchasing from slow fashion brands is the cost. However, better quality, sustainable clothing means longer wear and prevents consumers from carelessly disposing of garments after their use. Nonetheless, there are alternatives to purchasing from these higher end but sustainable brands. This is where thrifting or secondhand shopping comes into play. Not only is thrifted clothing becoming trendier as consumers recognize the need to limit the fast fashion industry and the consumption of fast fashion, but it also provides an avenue to obtain quality clothing at relatively cheaper prices. Secondhand clothing stores also give consumers a smarter way to dispose of garments after their use, simultaneously giving a clothing piece a longer life and providing the economic benefit to the seller. Now, in the course of human history, greed has always been a major contributor to our downfalls, and it is that same greed that the fast fashion industry was born from. Easy money. But at what cost? Environmental decay, negative health effects, horrific quality of life for workers in these factories. How do these concerns outweigh monetary success? Not only that, but fast fashion has given rise to this mentality of careless consumerism, constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses and disposing of products once they aren't relevant anymore. The key to putting an end to this careless consumerism and combating these serious issues that fast fashion has contributed to is slow fashion. By educating consumers, purchasing from sustainable brands, and utilizing secondhand clothing options, we can easily engage in this movement and bring this fast fashion era to an end.